I wanted to make a tier list based on pure efficiency. For those that want the most out of their AUEC, this tier list will cover only the S tier ships in some of the main categories of Star Citizen. For those of you that are new on this channel, I mostly focus on tutorials based around combat, as it's something that I find passion for in Star Citizen. The starter ship's job is to give you access to as many things as possible in the verse. S tier ships in this category are the Mustang Alpha, the Avenger Titan, the Nomad, and the Cutlass Black. The Alpha is my go-to if you want to rely more on dogfighting, as it is excellent in the atmosphere and a bit more maneuverable and tankier than the Avenger Titan. It also now includes a usable storage pod on the outside, perfect for storing all your patience as you'll need it in Star Citizen. It is also the most inexpensive ship on the list, making it accessible to as many players as possible. The Avenger Titan is the classic go-to, as it gives you secure cargo accessible from inside the ship. It can handle itself very well in combat, however you have to be careful as it doesn't have much HP once the shields go down. The Nomad is the pickup truck of the verse. This is the best option if you want to jump right into rock mining with as low of a cost to your wallet as possible. The Cutlass Black is the best starter ship if you want something you can play with a friend. It has a manned turret, which allows anybody with you to assist in combat. It also has enough cargo for prospect mining and enough room for some small ground vehicles like the Rock Miner or the STV. If you know that combat is for you and you want to improve, then a solo PvP ship is a must. The Gladius, the Arrow, and the Blade form an S tier trifecta. The Gladius is the most recommended ship as it is extremely well balanced for PvP. It can turn with an arrow and tank more shots than the Arrow, while still being maneuverable enough to be extremely aggressive. The Arrow is incredibly maneuverable, but also not as good as taking shots as the Gladius. The ship is amazing for PvE and PvP, but requires more skill to pull off in PvP than the Gladius. The Blade is a kiter and chaser's wet dream. It has incredible alpha damage and powerful forward and rear thrust. That said, its cockpit is horrendous for visual targeting and lacks pitch speed over the Arrow and the Gladius. Even though this ship is S tier, I highly recommend against it as it limits your growth as a pilot and costs way too much for what it brings to the table. For those of you who have friends, the dual PvP category is for you. Here we have the Warden and the Hurricane. The Warden has great firepower and can tank a lot of hits. Its turret has a nice range of cover, and while it doesn't pack a lot of firepower, it's enough to keep those light fighters at bay. The Warden excels at nuking anything its size or larger. It also carries a large quantum drive, allowing it to travel long distances quickly. While many people would suggest the Sentinel over the Warden, I find that the Warden wins out as it is very easy to just missile dump spam a Sentinel due to its higher EM signature. The Hurricane is the master of destroying light fighters and Wardens. It packs incredible firepower on the turret, meaning most of its damage relies on the pilot being able to maintain a close distance to its target. Its downsides are its low top speed, not allowing it to push the fight to where it wants, but rather relying more on a defensive stance, keeping speed slow and capitalizing on aggressive light fighters. If you want to nuke AI into oblivion and farm them for pure profit, then the solo PvE category is for you. Here we have the Eclipse, the Retaliator, the Connie series, and the 600i. The Eclipse is the king of bounty hunting. As its torp destroy hammerheads with ease, it can clear ERT bounties in seconds. The Retaliator is the big brother of the Eclipse. It has the capability of destroying hammerheads with one torp, carrying more torps than the Eclipse, requiring fewer rearms per run, but also slower. The Connie series are all strong enough to make light work of ships. Though it has horrid maneuverability, it makes up for it with its impressive firepower. And if you can't stand the Connie series, we have the 600i. It has slightly more firepower and more maneuverability than the Connie series, but also a little bit less tanky. And even though this one isn't out yet, but it's right around the corner, I would place the Drake Corsair in this list, as it will be less maneuverable than the Connie series, but will pack an incredible amount of firepower. If you want to farm with a friend, any ship will work for PvE, but the best for payout efficiency would have to be the Redeemer. It's maneuverable enough to deal with AI, and has incredible firepower, allowing you to clear those bounty missions faster. And though any ship can work for co-op PvE, this gives this second player the most amount of value, as the turret can remain effective more often than the pilot. Though hauling is very bare bones right now, there is still plenty of use for haulers in the verse. For moving your items, vehicles, and refinery jobs, in S tier we have the Freelancer Max, the Taurus, and the C2. The Freelancer Max is your best bang for buck hauler. This ship can do an array of things, including bounty hunting and moving around some of the smaller vehicles in the verse. It also pairs incredibly well with the Prospector for refinery jobs. The Taurus. If you need more volume and a bit more cargo to go with your mole refinery jobs, this is the ship for you. It has a bit more space for vehicles than the Max, and packs a punch for the more high-end bounty hunting missions. The C2 is the king of cargo. It handles incredibly well in atmosphere and space. It has the biggest cargo hold with enough space to take any land vehicle and some small ships. While it's not the best for combat as a solo ship, it's more than tanky enough to escape most situations. Racing is in a league of its own, so I decided to reach out to Splen, who is one of the best, if not the best racer in Star Citizen, and while racing ships come close, I have to give S tier to 2 ships. The P-52 is by far the best low-G racer. It has incredible maneuverability and speed. Its only downside is the lack of quantum drive, so it requires a taxi service. But if you want something with a quantum drive that can also handle an atmosphere incredibly well, then the 85X is the best all-around racer. Now there's a lot more detail that I can cover on these ships, but I wanted to keep this video very concise and short. If you have any favorites, comment down below and let me know what you think. With that being said, that's the end of this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.